you ever want to trade tactics? Always ready. It's hard to remain on dry land for so long. Never quite seem to get my land legs back.
Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Ah, finally, you're back. Well, how did...
To be honest, you might be
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed? Don't tell me that That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never... But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you...
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could...
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady...
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole...
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if...
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built And
you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression...
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those be...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never... Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatsui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with...
Indeed. Then perhaps Perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord. Oh, good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell us this before?
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, first, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, are these claims true? Please answer my question.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
The defendant deceived their own attorney.
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
So you would stick to Miss... In that case...
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydroarchon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and...
Yeah, sorry. Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad, not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad!
I'm very sorry. I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you... But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, you met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's hear your answer first, and no lies now!
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick with the...
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole It was never my wish to proceed under this, but like I said earlier, you can be the judge.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need... Huh? Oh...
Both parties have returned to their positions. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into the... Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before... And there you have it. That's the...
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the...
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events, what Linney experienced and what he saw. According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey. Seems... Linney went to the room... Linney did not
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Linney did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since the crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent. Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that!
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Lenny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case.
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have... You're saying that he wasn't?
That's right! Lenny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Lenny had already entered the same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lenny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Could there have been a third person involved? Halsey is the missing person. The deceased's name is Cowell.
That can't be right. The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Oh, is that so? How interesting! Let's hear your reasoning then.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Lenny as well. Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's... No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Lenny as well. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. No one entered or left the The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant. Linny was not in the tunnel at that... It would have been tough for both people. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing hull. The sound we heard may have come from a clash, but Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. No one entered or left the The deceased's name is Cowell. Linny... Linny was not in the tunnel at the... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble?
I see how it is.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person.
Excuse my interruption, dear.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a clash. The deceased's name is Cowell. The vase was not broken by chance. It was...
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared and Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar...
Just a moment, please. How could a person ever be transformed into water? Must we really? Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions.
Even so, I trust the travelers. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may... Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings.
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end...
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are...
the primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs, and that the notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was... As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous act—
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence.
If people can become water, Does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowl was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable. Still, let us assume... Guards, please continue Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence. So please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case...
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial...
The water from the primordial sea should up. Now it seems like the hook... The rope that held the water tank up was lit. The rope that held the water tank up... The deceased's name is Cowell. Lynette was in the magic box on... I remember there was something... The rope that held the water tank up... The deceased's name is Cowell. The water from the primordial sea... I remember there was something else within...
It's aced in the original plan. Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope, and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remained. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to...
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's
What?
That can't be.
Does this not click, my dears? Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Having made modifications to the props before that, upon his... Ultimately, he now as much... Am I right?
We've used up all the... Is this the end of the road?
Oh no! Paimon can't... Seems using the water as new evidence was too...
I think we've all seen, and I believe this is indeed the... Now then, my good, noble Chief Justice.
Excuse me, everyone, but I must
Miss, I must ask you not to shout.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh. Right, but what in the world is...
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a...
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while but once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous... Come on, Lenny and Lynette, give it another go. But as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think...
I understand.
And voila!
Sorry.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was the one who caught me in the act.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was onto me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee, but then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but I'm no killer.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lily-Ann's perspective. Lily-Ann was afraid that she would... The strange sound... The flower vase...
And it's Ace Detective Paimon time! Having been selected out of her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lily-Ann had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid. She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons.
At this point, all the events that...
Ah, so that's the whole... Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish... Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution...
What? Are you reading? No. I have no further argument.
Wow! Look at that!
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightened. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house. From this reconstruction of events, we can...
Hooray, Linny and Lynette!
While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct, that this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision. As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
Great work, part.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial...
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know and seek the...
Yes! Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which, when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea.
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's true.
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Winnie...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't, but still. Let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you, I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Heart, that was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were to survive. I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded... To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our neck. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility, just like...
That was how we felt at first, too. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social...
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to... After one particular performance at a banquet, I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean...
Oh no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. And I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the Knave standing there.
So, she'd already taken care of that guy.
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans. Father, I mean, the Knave, might have seen something in me, and so she... The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, but she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis's power once she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat... Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. Everyone at Hotel Bouffe d'été, including the Knave, has their roots in Fontaine. And we will always defend our homeland. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family, is our homeland.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis.
It's all right. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the house, I have never stopped. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free.
Bye, Linny!
Hey there! What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs for the Hydro Archon's people to follow now, right?
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. Sorry. I might have...
Don't say that, Navia.
Oh, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new hope to spring forth, and the reflection in the murk to become clearer. Sorry about that. I'm a bit prone to nostalgia. Don't mind me. Wait, shall we have a farewell?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal? Well, guess you really did treat us as partners, huh?
Well, I just like to have a proper ending to every important memory. That way there are no regrets later. Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
You don't have to twist...
Oh, wonderful!
All right, then. Let's...